I don't think that it can be understated how well you sleep at night when you have an emergency fund of any kind. Um, some people recommend $1,000 saved as an emergency fund, and some people argue that that's not nearly enough money. And some people argue a month's expenses, so get a month ahead kind of thing. Some people argue 3 to 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund. Sure, I mean they all have good arguments for them, and they're all fair depending on your situation. Again, finance is personal. What fits your lifestyle best? What makes you sleep well at night? Because there's also arguments that you don't need emergency funds at all, like that they're a waste of money. And there's a good argument for that as well. Any cash I have sitting on the sidelines is not going to produce a total return that is competitive with almost any investment. Okay, if I put that cash into short-term treasuries, you're already getting a higher percentage than you are just holding it in cash because inflation lights that cash pile on fire. Okay, fair. If you put it in the S&P 500, it's going to blow that pile of cash away. It's not even close total return wise. So there's a good argument for not having an emergency fund altogether. Just invest it, and later when there's an emergency, you either sell shares, take out a margin loan, put on onto a credit card any expenses that come up, and then later pay that off. I mean, there's all kinds of arguments to not have an emergency fund, and they're all valid. They all make a good point. But it comes down to your personal finances. It comes down to where you are in life, how you set up your day to day and monthly spending. What is best for you? That also includes your mental health. Can you sleep well at night with zero in savings for anything that comes up? And I mean anything. Your car might need new struts put on it for the suspension system. It might need a whole new axle. I don't know why that would happen, why the front axle falls off, but maybe it does. Maybe the oil change isn't $80 this month. Maybe it's 300. There's reasons to have money put away, and there's also reasons to not. If you didn't have that saved up, maybe you can afford it that month. But if you can't afford it, that emergency fund is going to help you sleep well at night. And I've been thinking about that more and more the last few weeks. Just how much to put away for an emergency fund. How do I sleep well at night? Keeping it all in cash. You just have a savings account, high yield savings account, even. Hey, great. Uh, I'm not the biggest fan. One, inflation's a problem. Keeping it in cash, I feel a kind of FOMO, if you will. I feel like I'm missing out on any returns at all by just holding on to cash. And I know that cash is an emergency fund. I know it's just there to help me sleep well at night, to cover any expenses that are just out of the blue, gonna completely derail my lifestyle. I get it. But sitting on just cash kind of, I don't know, it just bugs me. It bugs my brain. So I can't quite go that route. All right. And now you come to the idea of short term treasuries, right? It's the same idea as a high yield savings account, a money market fund. They do the same thing. They invest in short term treasuries. So you can do that yourself. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, there's a few tickers out there. Do your own research and don't listen to me. Okay, I'm some YouTuber. I don't know your situation. This isn't financial advice. Uh, just assume that I'm basically IQ of 75 and have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, go do your own research. Um, so that brings you to short term treasuries, right? If you're going to put that money into short term treasuries, yeah, you're going to get some yield off of it. Great. Sometimes it's less than 1%. Right now, I think it's in the four range, 4 to 5, right? It was over 5 previously in the very recent past. Um, I'm a little more comfortable with this because I feel like my cash is working for me. I feel like it's doing something rather than just sitting there. But I'm a little bit nervous, just a smidgen nervous, because my friend Sam, he borrows a lot of money. He borrows way more than he makes. Uh, and he's never defaulted. He's never had a problem paying off what he owes people. But he borrows a lot of money, and the interest rates on what he owes, they're getting kind of crazy. And he's not the best at budgeting. He's really not good at organizing his finances. So you technically you bring in X and you spend Y. right? In Sam's case, Y is way larger than X. You know, maybe I'm being hyperbolic. Maybe in the comments you can tell me that I'm being a little ridiculous, because Sam is very reputable, very reliable. Throughout history, he's never missed a payment on what he owes. You're right. He's always paid back what is due. But it just makes me nervous because, on a personal basis, if you load someone up with a lot of debt, eventually they're going to collapse under that. And you can look up whatever info you want for whether or not Sam is going to have issues paying back what he owes. So, so that makes me a little bit nervous about treasuries, right? If I take my emergency fund, put it in treasuries, I'm just like, I know it's okay historically. I know everyone's like, oh yeah, that's a safe, risk-free return. Is it though? Because when you translate Sam into an actual person, I don't know. You wouldn't really trust him with your money. So just putting it out there, it makes me a little nervous. But that is what I do for $1,000. Because like the Dave Ramseys of the world, like the initial setup budget people of the world, $1,000 in savings, like you've got it there, and it's a safety blanket for whatever's coming up. Cool. Fingers crossed. Sam keeps going. Further than that, I want to expand our emergency fund past $1,000. Okay, I've done that to some extent, but I don't know where the line is exactly of where I would sleep well at night. What would be the best? What I think fits our family best is 1 month of expenses, and I'll explain why. 1 month of expenses covers 1 month if some emergency comes around, right? We're gonna have rent covered, we're gonna have food, all the bills will be paid. Are you telling me if I get laid off right now, because this is an at will state, mind you, I could get a DM from my boss right now that's like, LOL, you're fired. and what would I do? I would just be fired. That would just be it. I would probably ask why, and there'd be conversation back and forth, but that could happen because that's where I live. And you're telling me in that time I didn't sign up for Uber and start delivering people some food and groceries and giving people rides, and like, I would figure it out in the short term. Yes. But having that month of expenses takes a lot of that pressure off for you to just sit back. I'm going to admit it. I would cry. I would cry. Have a good 20 minutes of rubbing my eyes of the tears, and go, okay, what am I going to do? Yeah. Okay. But it gives you that buffer to survive for 30 days. That's a big plus. Second big plus is every year we have a set amount of expenses that are recurring. Okay, you can call it discretionary spending, but some of the things aren't necessarily discretionary. For instance, one of the expenses is life insurance. Our investments aren't into a place where it would cover the kids and any burial costs and whatnot. Uh, so we have life insurance because if myself or my wife were to pass away, God forbid, the rest of the family is going to be taken care of. So that's an annual expense, right? My wife, she enjoys contacts. Those contacts cost a certain amount of money, and they're an annual charge. At January or February, we buy just big old lump sum, big old package of contacts for her to wear because she doesn't want to wear glasses all the time. And I'm not a monster to be like, hey, you have to wear glasses all the time. We're not buying contact lenses. Like, no, no, no. We'll get you your contacts. You can see, honey. And so there's a handful of expenses like that every year that we need to save up for to be able to buy, right? You can call them discretionary, but the life insurance is kind of, I mean, is it discretionary? Kind of, but it's more of a necessity at this point because kids, you know. Um, when those charges come about, I could budget them in for the month. Yeah, but ouch. Because some of them are hundreds of dollars. And yeah, we've got a little wiggle room in the budget, but as many of you know, the cost of living is only going up. That wiggle room, maybe it's not enough. Maybe we have to save up for 2 months, and my wife spends 2 months without contacts. Maybe we can't make the life insurance payment. And then what? They just drop us from the policy, and then we have to go through all that again? Like, no, no, no. So having the expenses in a pile of savings waiting up to that is wise. I think it helps me sleep at night by having that little bit of extra. And so earlier I was saying I want to go from 1,000 saved up to more. We're on that path to saving it more. Um, I don't like that it's just sitting there, not matching a total return of, say, just the market. That's fair. That's totally fair. But I know that my wife can see. I know that these big bills that come up every year, they're covered. Cell phone is another one. The cell phone we pay once a year. We don't pay that monthly. We pay that beginning of the year, buy the cell phone plan, whole year. Um, it's just covered. So I don't have to worry about will my phone work. I don't have to worry about dying. I don't have to worry about her seeing. I don't, and I want to get that to a place of a whole month is covered, just in case. I have no reason to believe I'll be severed from my current job, but you never know, right? You never know. Um, and so for me to sleep well at night, getting to that savings point of having a month's worth of expenses put away, it's the reason I hesitate here, the reason I'm making this video is because it's the least favorite part of my investment portfolio, our investment portfolio for the whole family, right? It's my least favorite part of it. There's some people in portfolio theory, they talk about how you have one piece that you just don't like, but you have it anyway. This is my piece. It's the emergency fund because I don't feel like I'm getting a good return on it. It's either in cash or in treasuries, right? Uh, and I feel like I could do better putting the money to work elsewhere. But last month, I spent $1,000 on the car. $1,000 to get some stuff fixed, and it was necessary. And the car has done us very well. I'm very glad we put that money into the car because it's a good car. It's reliable. But that's $1,000, and that thousand could go a long ways towards things. We're a family of four, and I've gotten food costs down to 1,300 a month. It's usually around 1,500. Sometimes on holidays like this month, it might go up to 1,700. But we've gotten food costs down real low because we cook at home. We eat at home. We're incredibly frugal with that. So to put that in perspective, I mean, the car repair was just shy of a month's worth of food. That's without that emergency fund, that would have been a big gut punch, right? And after you spend that money, after you've taken it out of the emergency fund, you put it back in. You fill the emergency fund back up. So the way that I counter those feelings of like you're not getting the market return that you should on the cash, or you're not getting total return that you should with your investments. I get it. I get that it's not the most wise thing to do with my money in the sense of total return, but I sleep so much better knowing that come January, hey, I'm gonna have to buy some contacts. I'm gonna have to pay for my cell phone. I don't have to worry about it at all because every month you put a little bit away for the future. This isn't a retirement account. This isn't a play money account. This isn't like the trading account where I do all kinds of degenerate stuff. Like no. This is just I'm gonna go to sleep and not worry about my family. And so I want you to think about that in your life too. Is there some way that you could build this thing for yourself? Because even $25 a month that you're putting away, that's money for a rainy day. That's what they're talking about. Save money for a rainy day. That's the whole phrase. It's an emergency fund they're talking about. They're not talking about the S&P 500. They're not talking about like, oh yes, I'm my rainy day is when I'm 65 and I can retire. No. They're talking about when your car repairs are $1,000. They're talking about when that life insurance bill is due. And you're like, I don't know how to pay it. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, that's what they're talking about. So I look at the loss of total returns. You graph this out for 25, 30 years in the future, and it's like, you've lost $250,000. You've put $1 million off the table. Like, whatever it was, whatever investment you're comparing it to. That could be a hard pill to swallow, yes. But How much is that peace of mind worth to you? How much are you willing to sacrifice to just sleep well at night, knowing like I could get laid off and it'll be okay? I don't know. It's kind of underrated. I've heard really good arguments, like really good arguments, to not have an emergency fund because you have credit cards available, and hopefully you pay them off immediately. Because in an investment account, let's say you put it all into the S&P 500, right? You can upgrade that account, upgrade depending on who you ask, right? You can upgrade that account to qualify for margin loans. Okay, so if you have an emergency, you take out a margin loan, you pay for the emergency, and pay it back immediately. Okay, again, not financial advice. Please do your own research. Never listen to me. Okay, uh, like there's options for you. You could sell off shares, all of it, or you could just save it up and just have it there waiting and take that hit to your retirement and depend on your future self to supply the money that will retire you in the future. Does that make sense? It gives me peace of mind. That's all. And I've got to confront that whole dichotomy between the whole cash and treasuries thing. You know, how much am I going to trust Mr. Sam over here to actually pay what is due versus just letting it catch on fire with inflation? But think about it for yourself. Think about what you can do to secure your very near term future because an emergency's coming, dude. You're gonna stub your toe and it's gonna get infected. You got to get it removed. Like you're gonna get in a car accident. I'm so sorry. I do not wish that on you. God forbid it happens. But like stuff happens, and just think about it. Think about it. And good luck. Take care of yourself. Have a great day.